you know you've made in tech if the Reddit community roasts the living shit out of you, and that's exactly what happened to me. For this past video that I just uploaded, everybody just said this to me, that this is something that we already know, and it's just one short prompt away. It will be a shame for this world to not understand my wonderful insights on such topics. Enough of the glazing, and I know you're clapping and rooting for me. But let's talk about a serious issue. You know, one of the biggest tech giants, Google, they messed up really hard this time. And let me tell you exactly why. On July 30th, they uploaded a feature right in the Google Earth software. Google Earth, something that we have already used, and for the 2000 kids, it was such a thing that helped them escape reality, look at different street views, and actually get a gist of how the world looks. Google implemented something which was called an AI generation frame. And what that means exactly is, now you could search for any location on Google Earth and could expect AI to make some tweaks on that. What was the problem exactly? In their own documentation, Google did say that this would help teach a lot of students about our historical presence. This makes me think, everything seems so good, right? So what was the problem? Let's talk about it in this video. The exact issue that happened was, within 24 hours of this feature release, researchers exploited a really naive but a mathematical bug. What exactly was that? Everybody knows Google satellite imagery is one of those things that people trust the most, and that's considered to be one of the most reliable sources. Let's just say we take an example of a US-Mexican border, and I plan to play a little mischievous. I plan to put refugees on the borderline itself. Now, in actuality, there might not be a lot of them there, but after creating certain elements with the help of AI image generation, it is very possible that I could be placing thousands of them. Is that the correct image? With the help of AI, I created something that's entirely false. But since I made it through Google's own software and Google satellite imagery, it raises some questions about deepfakes. Ever heard of them? To this problem, your answer might be, to understand deepfakes from what the original photo looks like, let's just do this one thing. While we are creating the AI image, let's just embed a watermark inside of it and let that watermark be seen by Google's Nano Banana. Google's Nano Banana 2 is exactly what's being used directly within Google Earth to generate such sorts of images. Coming back to the watermark part, researchers did this simple thing. They tried to exploit this AI watermark generation capability, and they were very successful at it. What did they do? They changed the watermark of the AI generated image. So imagine this. You want to generate an AI image on top of a Google Satellites one. You give Nano Banana a prompt, it creates something for you, and now you have an AI generated output. But before you actually can use that output, the AI generation software does something that's called a fast Fourier transform. Fast Fourier transform converts your entire image into a frequency space domain, which helps you to understand what spatial pixels makes up most of the photograph. It's a mathematical representation of how different boundaries of a photo are depicted in a frequency space chart. Now you have a mathematical representation of an image. What you do exactly here is the key element. You choose a key, the most simplest form. You can choose any key that you want. With the help of that key, you change this spatial representation of your image by some factor. You change certain pixels at regular time intervals, which leads to an entirely different frequency space domain. And this fast Fourier transform is enough to recreate the image back as well. So after you apply certain mathematical shifts in the frequency space chart of an image, which we call as Fourier transform, you can regenerate the image back to being an original one, but with some tweaks that we added with the help of our mathematical function. So all of the images that AI generates applies a watermark on top of it that changes the pixels by some amount, because of which when that final image is put into an AI detection software, it is able to understand whether or not the image was AI generated, again with the help of the watermark that it embedded itself. Pretty simple, right? Okay, so we did solve the problem of whether or not an image was deepfake in order to stop the widespread miscommunication and riots, right? Not so exactly. Researchers, within 48 hours of this software being launched, exploited a really cool bug. And that, excites me because I'm a math nerd. And I'm not even joking. So what was the actual bug? The mathematical function that you applied on the frequency space distribution can be altered. How? If you exactly know what kind of mathematical function is being applied, you can phase shift it by 90 degrees and the output of it becomes entirely different. For an example, if we take a simple cos wave, you phase shift it by 90 degrees, you get a sine wave. That's exactly what researchers did. They took a sample set of 123,000 photographs. They analyzed the exact mathematical function that these AI generated images are using to embed a watermark. They applied another one on top of it to phase shift the same thing by 90 degrees. Now the same distribution looks a bit different. Once you recreate the image out of the phase shifted frequency space distribution, the recreated image differs by certain pixels as well. And now since you feed this into the AI detection software, since the mathematical function doesn't align with the one that helped to create the watermark, the Google's detection software cannot understand whether or not this image was AI generated. This whole process is called as SynthID. The researchers shifted the mathematical function by 90 degrees. AI softwares could not detect whether or not the image was AI generated. Google's system broke, because of which they were unable to identify what's right and what's wrong. Deepfakes couldn't be understood, and that's why within 48 hours, Google had to pull their software back. But yeah, that was it for today, folks. Let me know what you think about this. Is SynthID the right way to actually put AI watermarking? And I'll see you in the next one.